Hey everybody, it's Jeannie with Creations by Jeannie, and today we're going to make this pretty little card here using the Blooming with Kindness stamp set. The colors that we're going to be using today are Strawberry Slush, Blushing Bride, and Pink Pirouette. I've already gone ahead and pre-cut our card base. It's 4.5 by 5 1/4 when folded. Then I have a layer at 5 1/4 by 4 inches, 3 1/4 by 5 inches to layer on top. We're only going to be stamping on the white, Whisper White piece. Alright, the first step that we're going to do is emboss the flower in Versamark, or the first flower I should say, because I stamped about 5 different times. Okay, I have to get the light just right. Yes, it's nice and inked up for me. We're going to come to this lower right corner. I give it a pretty good firm pressing to make sure I get all of the Versamark ink. Yes, so that is lovely. Okay, I'm just going to put a piece of scrap paper down, and I am going to use clear embossing powder. Sprinkle that over. And that looks good. I like to make sure that I get plenty of coverage with the embossing powder. And let's just put that back in. Okay, now that we have the powder down, we need to heat it up so we can set it in. Watch the magic. Okay, that is done. Okay, now that it's been embossed, our next step is to go ahead and sponge our colors on. I'm going to start with the lightest color. I'm just going to work that on. I use this technique quite a bit. I've not ever done it with a flower. I've done it with butterflies, and I've done it with big words, sayings. Alright, I think that looks good. I'm closing my lightest color, but I'm keeping the two darker, the Strawberry Slush and the Blushing Bride, open. Okay, now we're going to stamp in the Blushing Bride. And hopefully I can see this. Okay, I'm going to stamp off to the side a little bit. And then I'm going to not re-ink, come up just a tad, and stamp over to the side. And then we're going to ink it up again. Turn the card around. We're going to put one right up at this corner. And then I'm not going to re-ink again, and I'm going to put one in this corner. Which barely showed, but that's good because that's all I want, because we're fixing to put the darker one. Okay, before I stamp the darker one, I am going to go ahead, bring my sheet of paper back in, and I'm going to open my iridescent ice. Okay, now we're going to stamp the ink into the strawberry slush, which is my darkest color. We're going to stamp get a good impression here. Oh. Right, and while it's still wet, let's sprinkle some iridescent ice. Okay, that actually looks good. Okay, let me get this out of the way. We're done with the stamping portion. Okay, now our next step after we embossed an iridescent ice is to turn on the heat tool and set the ice in. Ooh, now that just pops off the page. Hopefully that is translating to y'all. Okay, one thing we do need to do, which I forgot, and hopefully it's not too late, is you need to come back. No, it's coming off great. You need to get the ink. Now you see how much wider this is, and it is just popping, especially in contrast with the strawberry slush up there. Gorgeous. Okay. Alright, now we are going to need the clear embossing again. Okay, I'm going to set this aside. We now need 2 scrap pieces of cardstock. I'm going with Whisper White and Strawberry Slush. We're going to stamp on this one. And while that's still wet, we're going to put clear emboss. I think that's a bit much there. You don't have to get as carried away and put quite as much as I did. But we do want to get it covered. Now that that's done, we need to, of course, turn on the heat tool again. This one had a lot of embossing. Just picking it up and making sure that I got it all. And that looks good. All right, now the next step is we need to bring in the Big Shot. And I'm going to have it sitting sideways because if I don't, it's not going to fit into the camera view. Okay, I am using the Apothecary die cut set. And I am using the second to the smallest oblong kind of piece. Get that set where you want it. Put your cutting plate on. Okay, we got that out. Now we need to emboss a pink piece, or emboss. See, you know that crazy factor for me comes in there somewhere, because when I listen to me back, I say the craziest darn things, and I'm like, that's not even what that is. Why am I talking like that? Okay, so let's get this in. Let's just run that through. Okay, and we are done with the big shot, so we can get that out of the way. Now comes the assembling of everything. So on the back of the Whisper White piece that we stamped, just add a couple of dimensions. Put one more in there. Okay, we're going to offset, and when I say offset, we want this to be like a drop shadow effect underneath. So I just kind of set it where you can see it poking out from underneath. Okay, we already have height, so it doesn't really need much more height. So we'll just add a couple of glue dots to the back. Snelled the Strawberry Slush down, dimensioned the stamped piece up. And then I left this piece white instead of sponging, which you could if you wanted to for an effect. I left it white to coordinate more with the white flower here. We're just going to kind of just set it over so it hangs over just a tad. Okay, now the last step. We are almost done, folks, and hopefully oh, I can't do anything fast. I don't know why. Alright, we're just going to add some pretty bling. Well, can't get the silly things off. Okay, that is it. The card is done. I appreciate you watching. And here the card is in our 3 colors. I thought I really loved this one, but now I think I really like this one. The blue is pretty too, but boy, this really just pops. So thank you for watching. I wished I could film all day long, but I have 2 boys and a husband, and I have to film when they're not around. Have a great day.